This is a video about spoilers. It is about the last levels of games, the things they do just before the credits. This is a weird thing to make a video about, I understand. These are the parts you withhold. You save for the 40th minute of the video and you put big gates around them and you say, skip it if you want to save it for yourself. But sometimes, like in the cases here, to tell you what makes the game special, I need to tell you about the ending. I fear you will underestimate these projects otherwise. So here's the deal. I'm going to tell you about 3 video game endings today. They are the endings of a first-person shooter, a narrative-heavy walking simulator, and a rhythm game. I do not believe that knowing the endings to these games will actually spoil you. I will be revealing mechanics and narrative beats you wouldn't otherwise know about, yes, but I have replayed all of these games multiple times for the writing of this video, and my enjoyment of their endings has not diminished one bit, even though I know what's coming. But for the completionists among you, none of these games cost more than $25, and all of their credits can be reached within, let's say, 7-ish hours. For your convenience, I have also timestamped this video for both the general discussions and the specifically spoilery parts of each game. You do what you wish, but there's almost nothing I'd rather do than tell you about how these games end. Let's go. Although most categories of gaming are going through some level of indie domination, first-person shooters still feel like a genre largely defined by AAA efforts. It's a field sculpted by Call of Duty, Battlefield, and whichever hero shooter is currently allowed to succeed. Indie efforts have instead mostly focused on the throwback boomer shooter subgenre, defined by fun, crunchy aesthetics, crafty level design, super fast movement, and the ability to hold more than 2 guns at the same time. Technically, Echo Point Nova, a 2024 shooter from Greylock Studio, has many of these defining attributes. You move fast as hell, levels eschew any sense of realism in favor of absurd, awesome verticality. You're carrying roughly 200 pounds of guns at any given time. But Echo Point Nova has never felt like it firmly fit into the boomer shooter category for me. It is simply its own thing, so absolutely chock full of ideas that its mechanics are able to combine in completely new ways. And, as you might have guessed, it ends with the coolest shit I've ever seen. Echo Point Nova also starts pretty delightfully by dispelling the notion that you can ever have too many mechanics in a video game. In the first 3 minutes of play, you receive in sequence a revolver, a double jump, an SMG, a ground pound, and a coinciding lack of fall damage, the knowledge that you might have to lead your shots, a pickaxe and the information that the entire environment is destructible, a hoverboard that can not only cover land incredibly quickly, but can wall ride and in fact fly straight up sheer walls, a grenade, which is a grenade, a shotgun, which is a shotgun, and a grappling hook that you can use on any wall, enemies, or in fact the clouds in the sky. You can grapple the clouds. First 3 minutes of the game. Echo Point Nova takes a maximalist approach to most aspects of its design. The game is actually an open-world arena shooter in which you blast dudes across dozens of different levels scattered across a massive floating sky world. After each of these arenas, you will find a new weapon or perk or other bonus which will allow you to, say, regain health by ramming guys with your hoverboard, or do triple damage after bouncing off a jump pad. Weapons can earn new attachments too, there's a lot going on. By the mid-game, battles will take place almost entirely airborne. You will careen over hordes of bad guys, showering them with grenade launchers and shotgun blasts, perhaps backflipping, because yes, if you aim high enough, you will simply backflip, and slowing down time to pop a dude with a sniper rifle. You can slow down time too, that's a mechanic I forgot. You can slow down time. What's kind of miraculous about Echo Point Nova is that this toolkit quickly stops being overwhelming, that your brain just kind of adjusts to the 30 options you have in your back pocket at all times. This is maybe exemplified by the game's approach to boss design, which combines Shadow of the Colossus, the Star Wars trench run, and that scene in the beginning of Saints Row 3 where you skydive through the length of a cargo plane. You have to match your momentum against these giant soaring fortresses, taking out both enemies and the fortress's weak points as it disintegrates around you. And I want to say, I am aware that this game is probably hard to visually parse on YouTube. When recording footage, I often try to play a little slower to make it more comprehensible to the audience. That is just impossible here. Echo Point Nova is chaos, and you find your way to fit into that chaos. My favorite bit of the game isn't even combat though, it's simply navigating the world. Because each arena is held on different floating islands, getting between them is a sort of improvisational platforming puzzle. You can launch off a ramp, wall ride some floating arcs, dig your way through a landmass, whatever you want. As the game goes on and you collect more agility orbs, yes, there are agility orbs, your abilities expand to hyperbolic levels. With launch pads, triple jumps, cloud grapples, almost anywhere on the map feels accessible from anywhere else. For all the other collected abilities in Echo Point Nova, you cannot fly. But with your speed and maneuverability, you can do everything but. So, the ending. Throughout the game, you've been collecting artifacts for thus far unknown reasons. You just jump into a volcano or an icicle or something and find an artifact. But eventually, you find every artifact and place them on nice little pedestals, and as you do, giant structures start flying out of the cloud sea beneath you, a final obstacle course for the player who's proved they can do almost anything. The start of this obstacle course is pure speed. You rocket around curves and off of ramps, climbing ever higher. This new environment in the sky pays tribute to the one you've been playing through, starting with the simple dirt of the tutorials, giving way to massive trees, then... I had almost reached the mesa section of the obstacle course when I realized two things. One, I was up really high. Obscenely high. So high I could see the open world of the rest of the game. So high I could, in fact, see the curvature of the planet. And two, I couldn't quite reach the next geometry. There was a jump pad, but it wasn't sending me high enough. My grappling hook couldn't quite grab the next piece of land. I thought through my toolkit. I had the surfboard, the grapple, the triple jump. I had received a handful more upgrades, a jump pad, an ice cast, a sort of fiery vortex that could propel me through terrain. None of these could bring me high enough, unless... As I climbed through the obstacle course, in the back of my mind, I had noticed the physics of the game shifting. There were massive jumps that I shouldn't have made, but I did. In fact, sometimes I was soaring so far I overshot my targets. I was so high up. Was it possible that gravity itself had reduced? On the ground, my little fire vortex power only propelled me a few feet. Here, though, I tried it. It was like I had kicked off a rocket engine. I actually flew through the lessened gravity. The ascent only grew more extreme, but now I had cracked it. Giant icicles hung in the atmosphere, and I surfed straight up them. Magma-covered rocks floated in the vacuum, and I barely touched a one. Echo Point Nova had finally let go of its last restraint. Up above the planet, ultimate freedom. There is, of course, a last battle up here. Hanging above the planet is some sort of hostile space station, but gravity was the true final boss of the game, and I had already defeated it. The station barely stood a chance. I screamed through its structure, melted its walls, exploded its reactors. Its defenses were tied to a limitation I had left behind. Eventually, there was only one weak point of the station left, right at its base. I careened into the final room and detonated it with the same fire vortex that propelled me forward. The entire fortress disintegrated. I stared, instead, at the arc of the planet itself. The title of the game came up, and slowly, I fell back down to Earth. Exhale, I think the game is saying with these credits. You have reached the pinnacle. Nothing else we can show you could be a higher high than the thing you just did. The game is right. Another approach to storytelling is, rather than an ascent, to set the entire narrative at the peak. This is, in a sense, what Despelote does. Despelote is not a game with an SMG, grapple hook, or hoverboard. It is a quiet snapshot of the developer's early childhood, complete with mischief, boring school days, and annoying little sisters. Why, then, is the narrative set at the peak? Because the entire game is centered around Ecuador's 2001 run in the playoffs for the World Cup, the first time ever that the country actually qualified for the tournament. The excitement of this moment is stretched out across the entire game. It is the subject of every overheard conversation. A giant TV is hauled into the middle of a wedding party because, if not, everyone would have bailed to watch the playoffs. At breakfast, your thoughts drift from your eggs into an empty field where you can kick the ball for miles. Despelote's aesthetic plays into this obsession. The environments are constructed from I almost want to say a Game Boy camera level of detail, blurry dual-tone captures of realistic places. But the ball pops brilliantly white and hand-drawn, just like your own hands and legs, far more vibrant than anything happening around it. A dumpster may be blurry, but the cone you're trying to kick off of it is crystal clear. Despelote is a memoir through the eyes of Julian, the developer, and so it's easy to intuit that the bright hand-drawn items and characters are the things that remain most accessible in his memory. Your Transformer toys, the old man who yells at you in the park, your mom and your dad, these are the things that stand out from the haze. There's a real commitment to the feeling of the kid experience. In school, Julian's gaze is inevitably drawn from his work to the window. Around grown-ups, you only catch snippets of their conversation, either because they're talking about subjects way over your head, or because you're just not interested. You draw on the fogged-up window on the way home. The city and the era and the perspective through which they're rendered are so transportive, you may forget this is a story told in retrospect. Especially for me, an American with no pre-existing knowledge of World Cup history, the anticipation is wonderful. What's going to happen? Will Ecuador qualify? Will they win? But as you draw closer to the climactic day, the timeline gets shakier, less sure of itself. During one sequence, you're walking around a house party with teens, getting drunk. This couldn't be the same year as that World Cup, could it? The same year we had Transformer toys and played hide and seek with our kid sister? Even more surreal is your video game, Tino Tini's Soccer 99, which is usually just a top-down SNES-style minigame, but towards the end of Despelote, as you ignore your sister and your mom begs you to just communicate with her, Tino Tini's Soccer 99 changes. Or, it doesn't end. The ref blows the whistle, the teams line up and shake hands, and the game should just shut down, but it keeps playing. You, as the player, walk out of the stadium. You walk into the streets of Quito, still recognizable despite being seen from above. You walk into the protagonist's house. It's a surreal, borderline unnerving experience, not just because the Tino Tini's Soccer 99 cartridge seems haunted, but because the broader game, Despelote, has been presenting itself thus far as a fairly straightforward history. Why this, then? What's going on? The answer comes in the sequence I really want to talk about, the ending anticlimax. Following Tino Tini's reality breakdown, you're thrown back into one of the scenes the game started with, sitting in a classroom, longingly staring out the window. But you're given additional context this time. Julian confesses that he wishes he could remember the final explosive day of the playoffs better, that he was only 4 when Ecuador beat Uruguay and qualified for the World Cup, that he has, in fact, aged the character you're playing up to 8 years old, so the story makes a little more sense. It's a disarming confession, given how genuine the game feels, one you sit with as you half-heartedly circle answers on your school quiz. But then, you're released from school and sprint down the stairs, eager to do the one thing you absolutely know how to do, kick the shit out of that ball, and then when you do, if you pause and look around this new version of the world, it's quickly apparent that this is a pretty messy, Google Earthy scan of the environment. But that isn't what it feels like. After spending so much time in Game Boy camera land, kicking this ball and being thrust into full blinding color feels like, oh, well, it feels like you've just entered the real world. Which is the point. Julian is no longer 4 or 8. This is Quito as it currently exists, not as a memory, but as an unsentimental simulation. And it's tough. It's unfamiliar. Though the game isn't long, we've gotten to know Julian's block, the park and surrounding buildings, and then this reality is intensely unfamiliar. It just stretches on and on, the cars melting into the pavement, the stadium melding with the ground in the uncanny capture. Julian says that this is a scan of the park they made in 2024. Yes, he says, it changed a lot after that World Cup playoff. But the physical changes pale in comparison to the changes in him, the peril of trying to recreate something that's passed from memory to myth in his head. He shares that he wanted to perfectly capture the ambiance of the park to put into the game, so they brought Despelote's sound designer to Ecuador to record, but when they arrived, people told them it was dangerous to go into the park with all that expensive sound equipment. They had to hire a security guard to follow them around the place he remembered sprinting through so freely. Any piece of art set in the past is, of course, a facsimile. No number of details can perfectly replicate what it was really like, much less how an individual really felt. But Despelote makes that part of its text in a dizzying way, a full-on collision with the abstractions of its depiction. Even the most genuine parts of the game exist in this limbo. Julian's in-game parents are voiced by his actual parents, their dialogue almost fully improvised based on their memories of the time, but Julian's parents, in the present, are divorced. In recording them for the game, he recreated another layer of the past that no longer exists. As we continue to wander through the bizarre geometry of the real world, Julian returns to the topic of the World Cup playoffs. He says that they tried every way of depicting the moment Ecuador qualified in-game, and nothing could properly match the ecstasy of the real thing. So, he concludes, why not just watch it yourself? Watch it as it aired on Ecuadorian TV, with an ad running right through the middle of it. Reality, once again, attempts to puncture the myth, but nothing can take away from this moment. Ecuador would lose the World Cup proper in the first round. That's not as important as what happens here. Our lives are made out of this conflict, our memories melting and reforming into the grand and meaningful pillars of our personal narratives. Our pasts are stories we tell ourselves. But why shouldn't we share those stories with each other? Have you ever learned about a game only after it's released, then taken a look back at its development cycle and gone, oh wow, there's a lot of baggage here? This is what happened to me with Rhythm Doctor, a, I thought, cute and straightforward rhythm game from developer 7th Beat Games. Rhythm Doctor's whole shtick is that all gameplay happens with a single button. You're not playing chords, you're not steering around a track, you're not aiming and shooting, you're literally hitting one button on the correct beat. Rhythm Doctor's most direct influence is probably Nintendo's Rhythm Heaven series, in which you play cute little micro games in time with the beat, pluck hairs from these guys' beards, help the karate man punch stuff. Rhythm Doctor's twist on this formula, I believed, was contextualizing it within a more cohesive environment. You're not just a pair of tweezers or a karate man, you're an intern at a hospital testing out a new form of rhythm therapy, where you're literally defibrillating the patient's heart on beat with the song. Oh fun, I thought. I bet there will be recurring patients, we'll get little stories with them, maybe the medical issues will get worse or more out there as the game goes on. All these assumptions were correct. This does happen in the game. And then I looked at when this game started development, and it was in 2011 as a Flash game, and then it entered Steam Greenlight in 2017, and then entered Early Access in 2021, and then it only fully released a few months ago, in December of 2025. That's 14 years for this little thing. What could it possibly have up its sleeve to warrant a Duke Nukem Forever development time? I know this isn't really how game development works. Please just let me frame it this way for dramatic effect. Rhythm Doctor sets you up with a single, very simple task. Press the button on the 7th beat. 7th beat of this samurai, 7th beat of this lovesick kid, 7th beat of the samurai and the lovesick kid. Oh, interesting. Asking you to track a couple different rhythms at the same time, but still cute. It was only when I got to the boss of the first world that I caught a glimpse of what Rhythm Doctor would become. See, this battle-worn insomniac is experiencing a particular kind of virus, Connectia Fia Abortus, or, Wi-Fi trouble. You're not told exactly what this means. The doctors just repeat the instructions of the first couple stages, hit the button on the 7th beat, no matter what, which it turns out sometimes looks like this, and more often looks like this. From here on, I was fully locked in. Rhythm games have maybe the most rigid rules of any gaming genre. You don't make choices, you don't express agency, you just hit the notes at the right time. For the game to understand that and warp itself around your agency, almost mocking your rigidity by making everything else so chaotic, it just speaks to what I love about games. Storytelling by means you've never really seen before. And I think Rhythm Doctor somehow heard me think that and laughed and said, "Hold my beer." It was during the second boss of the game that I realized Rhythm Doctor was going to do things I'd never seen a game do before. But it didn't start positively. As soon as I jumped into the boss arena, some weird glitch happened and the game jumped from full screen to windowed and it refused to go back. For some reason, this issue still plagues modern gaming. If I had a nickel for every game that booted up on the wrong monitor or changed resolution or rearranged the whole screen or froze my screen while attempting to change from one mode to another, I mean, whatever. I'll play the game like this. And then, around 40 seconds into the boss, something starts happening. The character, this DJ, has been bobbing up and down in the window, but then the window starts bobbing up and down on my desktop. It's moving itself around, slowly at first, and then as the beat picks up, frantically, uncontrollably. Bouncing around the edges, it cannot be contained. At one point, the DJ starts running from one location to another, and the window is following him. I can't properly capture this, so I just have to show you a video over both of my monitors. I didn't know a game could do this. I've seen a game shut itself down, I've seen a game fake glitches or notifications, but this is more than pulling a trick. This is a new way of communicating. I need to move the script towards the end of this game or I will talk about this one thing forever. So, Rhythm Doctor has shown its hand. It can do window magic, it deploys this carefully. Not all bosses use it, many have other dazzling tricks. But as I'm coming to the end of the game, I kind of can't imagine what else it's been holding back. How is it going to pull another rabbit out of the same hat? As the last level begins, we learn that the entire hospital is destabilizing. The Wi-Fi virus has come back with a vengeance. It's attacking everyone at once. As a player, you start doing what you've done before, balancing multiple rhythms at the same time. The samurai and the boy, the DJ and the doctors, and it takes a minute to realize what's different. That the windows aren't just moving around, but duplicating. It's 2 boss fights at once. It's 4 patients over 2 windows. It's 2 patients and 6 birds. It's 8, it's 10, it's 14 heartbeats at once, spread across 4 different windows, an impossible task. The rhythms too disparate, too disjointed to ever keep up with. Inevitably, you will fail. The windows all flatline. And then, when all hope is lost, the DJ shows up and says he's just finished his new track. I'm doing better now than back then. He has somehow made a track that syncs up everyone's heartbeat, but lest you think this is the end of the level, oh no, things have just begun. During my time playing Rhythm Doctor, I've been searching for why exactly I find its window trick so compelling. I have seen much more expensive games do much more technically impressive things with animation and with camera moves, but these screens of Rhythm Doctor dancing in front of me give me a feeling far beyond those titles. And it's in the final boss that I realize, yes, it is a performance. When I play other games, I am participating in an animation, but here, I am part of choreography. The program itself has learned to dance.
Get set, go! 3, 4, 3, 2.
Over the next several minutes, what Rhythm Doctor does not only justifies its development time, it makes me wonder how the game only took this long to release. Every plot thread comes back through, every rhythm is woven into this tapestry, and the choreography just gets more and more complex. I can't even keep up here. At one point, 2 doctors are trapped in separate windows, and so the samurai shows up and smashes the screens into each other. At another point, the lovesick kid jumps from his window into his crushes. At one point, and I need to slow down here so you really understand, at one point, the window the DJ is playing in fully disappears, and just his sprite, plummets downwards towards the bottom of the desktop, and your hand, the one that's just been pressing a single button the whole time, reaches out to catch him. And then he whips out an electric guitar, and the windows are flying across the screen, and fireworks are exploding on your desktop, and it's just the greatest f***ing thing I've ever seen. In the prior video in this, is it a series? I guess it's a series. I said that it's a risky prospect to save the very best in your game for the very end. Everyone plays the first level, but most players don't finish most games. What if all your efforts for this grand finale go completely unseen? But for those players who do, who are driven to finish, to see it all, it's hard to imagine a more generous gift from a game. A great first level ensures that I'll play the next one. A great last level, that's what guarantees I won't forget it. That's how a game lives forever. While writing this video, I've been thinking a lot about how games define rules, how they communicate those rules to the player, and then, most importantly, how they break them. All 3 endings here contain some level of rule breaking, but these are not the only games that have broken the rules, not by far. Over on Nebula, because this is a promotion for Nebula, I've made an exclusive video about 3 other games that do tricks I didn't know you could do in games. These pull off their tricks in the middle of the game rather than at the end, so they're a little out of topic for this video, but they are so clever, so encapsulating of how has no one thought of this before, that I couldn't keep myself from talking about them. 2 of these games do a trick I think everyone should copy, 1 does a trick I think no one should ever do again, but in a positive way. I had a lot of fun making it. Nebula is a premium streaming service where I get to do stuff like this, videos I want to make that don't exactly fit the shape or algorithmic needs of YouTube. This most recent video actually features a ton of licensed music, which is obviously a no-go here. In just the past couple months, I've also made video essays, discussions with other creators, best of lists, cooking videos, a needlessly in-depth chronicle of my mission to get a Blu-ray of the movie Sunshine. It's great, it's goofy, and it's only $2.50 a month with my URL. I've been spending more and more time on Nebula recently. Largely, that's because of FD Signifier's incredible video on Tyler Perry, which exists in its full non-copyright censored form on Nebula. I'm also having a blast with Rasputin's 2-hour chat with Iron Pineapple and Yako, which, you guessed it, is only available on Nebula. And when I'm on Nebula, I think, wow, this is great. I never have to skip ads, I know my money is going to support these creators, I never wonder, is this a real video or just some kind of Rat King AI fake voice bullshit, dumb, stupid land? It's a good place, is my point. And you can spend time there too, just by following my link and signing up for under $3 a month.
All my fans, I tried my best, but things are tough. I'm out of luck. My joints are torn, I can't hold on. Everybody believes there must be something wrong with me to stay this way. But my dreams don't stop, so I'll keep holding on. Still, but there's no peace inside this place. Fans lose their cool. My team moves on, I've been replaced. I'm better with waiting, my body is fading.